AFA Today, Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us. A busy day across America. The president was speaking from the Rose Garden as we signed on today at 12 noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. And he was saying that, he was calling it the GOP shutdown. And, to be very candid, it took two parties deciding not to take action on something to get to where we are right now. So, to be very, very clear, it is both the Democrats and the Republicans' responsibility for why the government shut down. And one side believes that it's being done in silliness and superfluousness. The other side believes it's taking a courageous stand in not pushing forward on funding on things that they don't believe are important. And it is incumbent upon us, friends, and it's very, very important that we understand this, that we understand the arguments of both sides. It's very important that you understand what's being said and you measure that against what the truth is. So you listen to what Harry Reid says and you go and read the actual arguments of what he's saying as what he's accusing the other side of, and then you make a decision. Is he telling the truth or not? You do the same thing with John Boehner and the Republicans in the House, and you measure what they are saying against what the actual facts are and what their actions are, and then you can come to a moral understanding of the people involved. But at the end of the day, that's something that they're doing over there. That's something that they're doing way, way over there. That doesn't really fall into your circle of influence today. It's very unlikely, except if somebody got sent home from their job today because they didn't have work. We had a guy, when we opened the phone calls, Cliff from North Carolina, who said, hey, I'm one of those affected by this, but I'm going to use the time to be proactively doing this, and this. And he said all the ways that this is a blessing for him, reminding him of certain very important principles. It's going to give him some time to spend with his son, etc. There are ways to respond to this that are not morally neutral. There are ways to respond to the shutdown that actually do have a moral component to it. This is one of the things that Kevin McCullough talks about constantly till people get sick. I mean, they're blue in the face from just yelling at me from talking about this all the time, but everything we do has a moral component. Everything we do has a moral outcome, has a moral consequence. Everything we do. You choose not to tie your shoe in the morning and you trip down the stairs and you break your leg and you get sent to the hospital. That there's a moral component into not tying your shoes. So what is the moral component of the shutdown? How do we reach people for the cause of Jesus in the midst of this? How do we extend that effort of loving on people and showing them who Jesus is in the midst of this? 888-589-8840. I'm keenly interested in your response to that question. Let's talk with Mannix, who's calling from North Carolina as well. Mannix, welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today. Hi.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I really enjoy your program.
Thank you.
You talk about what we can do. First of all, we need to get down on our knees and pray for those people who aren't getting a check. You know, this is the first of the month. There are bills due. There's rent due. There's mortgages due. When you get up in the morning and you look at your bank account and you see that your money's not there posted to your account, that's got to be devastating. Pray that the government comes to an understanding and get the money out to those people. Prayers from everyone can, move mountains. The other thing is, my husband and I work in a food kitchen a couple of times a week.
Okay.
We feed all kinds of different people. There are people in the military who are lower ranks that are actually on food stamps because they don't make a lot of money. Open your homes to people. If you have an extra room, whatever you have, give. we all have something extra. It may not be a lot, but we can all do something.
In this country, Mannix, I think you are 100% correct, and I thank you for your call. And I say that because of yesterday's conversation. I say that because I see what Christians are dealing with in Egypt. Woke up this morning, pardon me, brand new story out of Egypt. Another church torched and another 10 to 15 Christians executed last night. Just incredible, tough stuff. And here we are having a political squabble about the government and whether it's going to be open, how long it's going to be open, and whether it's going to be open for long enough for people to get paid. And again, just as a reminder for those of you who have tuned in, all past 17 government shutdowns that have occurred since 1976, every government employee was paid every penny of back pay that was lost during the shutdown. So there's not really a historical reason to believe that that's not going to occur here, but it may cause people some great inconvenience in the meantime. So that's just something to keep in mind. By the way, I did want to say thank you to those of you that did go to the website yesterday, defendthem.net, and add your voice to the people that are gathering as a movement in this country to say to our government, please defend Christians and Jews, particularly in the Bible lands, particularly where there is genocide being committed against them. The story from Egypt last night, just another example of that. But there's stories within the last week from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Egypt, in which Christians were all killed, butchered, attacked in some way that was grotesquely unfair. And Christians are not fighting back. They are not forming militias and going to go form armies. They are having some demonstrations in the streets, but really what they need is they need the goodness of the United States to come to their aid. For someone in leadership in our country to stand up and say, guys, we're gonna express religious tolerance in this part of the world. We're going to see to it that that's a human value that we all value. And it's not right to extinguish Jews and Christians from the Middle East. So if you haven't done it yet, please go to defendthem.net, DEFEND, them.net, and sign the petition. It takes 10 seconds. But in that 10 seconds, you could help save the life of a fellow believer that is enduring incredible persecution, particularly in the lands of the Bible right now. The goal is to wipe out the people of the Bible from the lands of the Bible. And we just need to stand up and say no. And 10 seconds of your time could help thwart that if you just go to defendthem.net and sign the petition. All right, back to the calls. The way we discussed the shutdown and what difference it makes. Let's talk to Christine, also calling from North Carolina, our third North Carolinian today. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
I'm also from the Fort Bragg area, and my daughter works on base as a contractor, a paramedic.
Okay.
She's retired from the Air Force after 20 years. And they were sent home, quote, a 16-page letter directing them how they need to behave during this shutdown. She has to go to work or she'll be fired. She cannot take leave. She cannot take vacation. And that it's possible that they will not get retro pay. And if they do, it'll be paid all in one lump sum about March or later, and it will be taxed heavily. And she's a single mom, and I don't know how she's going to make it. But, and she's not angry at the Republicans. She doesn't understand why the Senate couldn't take their request of, shutting down Obamacare for a year. And she's disgusted with politics, period, as I am.
I saw so many things, and Christine, thank you for your kind call, and I'm glad that your daughter has you for a mom. Hopefully you guys can spend some time together and maybe help shoulder some of that burden for her in the interim. But I saw so many people on social media in the last 24 hours saying how glad they are that they're not required to discuss political things publicly. This is truly a divisive issue in almost every way that you can imagine it to be. It is. But the long-term effect of this is that we're going to have people that are displaced out of their comfort zone, maybe living off of reserves, maybe not, maybe having to put some stuff on credit cards and other things, which, heaven forbid, that's just the worst way possible to survive something like this. But at the end of the day, friends, I think that these types of opportunities, I think that these types of trials present enormous opportunity for the church. I think it presents enormous opportunity for Christians to step up and say, "Hey, who needs some help? You come to our house for dinner tonight. We're gonna, and then afterwards we'll sit down and we're gonna figure out, what kind of budget can you put yourself on and help yourself get through these next number of days or weeks." I think there's a role to play, and I think the down part is if we choose to ignore, miss, or worse, be callous about the circumstance when the opportunity is presented. 888-589-8840. The genuine biblical response to the shutdown. What is that? Is there such a thing? Does the Bible address the shutting down of the United States government? Let's go to Hunt in North Carolina. I'm telling you, North Carolina is where it is at today. Hello, Hunt. Glad you're with us. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you here.
Yes, I think in everything that we do, there is always a downfall, but something's got to be done. And I don't think it to be a bad thing. I think a lot of people's going to suffer for it. But there's a lot of statements about being good stewards over the things that God has given us or the money that we earn.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's hard for a person that works for $7.25 an hour to store up. In this country, I do very well myself. I'm doing good. But I'm just looking at those that make $7.15 an hour. There's no way to be good stewards of it because it's not even enough for them to survive off of it.
Well,
I don't know that
Hunt, I'm not sure that I accept the premise of that, only because, and I'll be very candid about this. I happen to do a lot of work with a very talented lady named Danny Johnson, who has helped tens of thousands of people pay off literally millions of dollars of debt. And one of the things that she actually walks people through in their getting to the next stage of where they want to be in terms of income is to bloom where you're prospered. And if you are faithful to bloom where you're prospered, there's a spiritual law that gets invoked that God will prepare you for the next promotion. And so the idea of always living on $7.65, no, that's not optimal. But those jobs that pay that were never designed to be the types of jobs that people would be supporting families with, et cetera, et cetera. And God wants you to be faithful in the little so that he can make you master of much. That's a very biblical idea. And so, yes, it will be difficult for those that are in that income bracket. However, I also know another family that when the main breadwinner lost their job, the mom went to work for a retail store part-time. It was, nearly 30 hours a week, but that was all that they could get. And over the course of about 8 months, they paid off debt. They reduced their expenditures that they were spending month to month. They lived within their means. And when they came out of the other side where the husband was able to get a job again and so forth, they came out very far ahead. And considering where they had been, you would have looked at it and said, that's impossible. You can't pay off $20,000 worth of debt in 10 months. You're working part-time. And I don't know if that was the amount, but it was something significant that they did over that period of time. But they did it. They did it because they followed these very simple ideas from Scripture of living within your means, being responsible for yourself, doing the types of things that you have stewardship of. God doesn't give us stewardship over our lives so that we go out and blow it and put it all on credit cards and eat lots of Big Macs every day and do all the rest of it. You can eat for pennies a day if you buy your own vegetables and make your own food and so forth. There are ways to go about that are valid, that work, that help people say, hey, I don't have to be victim to the circumstances of life. I can actually have a great deal of stewardship and control over what God allows me to have stewardship of. The question is, will we be faithful? That's always the bigger issue, isn't it, friend? The issue is not, does Jesus have the power to give us a better life? The question is, are we being faithful in the little things so that as he prepares me for what that next step is, I'm ready to walk into it when it's presented? There are people that, because of an unwillingness to live faithfully in that way, in that manner, that they will miss that promotion when God brings it for them. And that's not his intention. His intention is to bless. The question is, will we be faithful? Faithfulness, as Don Wildman reminds us at the beginning of this broadcast every day, is the word. Not success, not wealth, not riches, faithfulness. Will we be faithful to God as he is to us? Something to think about on the day that the government shut down. Here on AFR Talk and AFA Today, I'm Kevin McCullough. Stay with us throughout the rest of the afternoon. Brian Fisher, Focal Point up next, and the Kevin McCullough Show coming your way tonight on many of these same stations.